The SCP Foundation is a very secretive organization, and very little is known about its internal structure. But who established the SCP Foundation and why? In this video, we explore the origin of the Foundation. The obvious place to start would be the O5 Council, because after all, these 13 individuals are believed to be the most powerful people within the Foundation. And indeed, if we check out the clearance levels within the agency, we see that the highest rank is 5, a clearance level that is typically only granted to O5 Council members. As such, given that the O5 hold the highest security clearance, this would imply that they established the SCP Foundation and positioned themselves in charge. However, there are some documents in the wiki which state otherwise. For example, in Roget's SCP-001 proposal, a specific message requires level 6 clearance, and when granted, welcomes the user with the words, "Welcome, incoming administrator." But who is this administrator, and why does he or she possess a level 6 clearance? And does this mean that this person outranks the O5 Council? Well, according to this proposal, the administrator does indeed outrank the council, and the document even states that this individual possesses anomalous traits. However, in another document, the administrator is described somewhat differently, because in a file called the O5 Command Dossier, the administrator's role within the Foundation is called nebulous, and this figure is said to be associated with numerous heads of government. Also, this individual is said to possess anomalous traits, such as protection from reality shifts and very slow aging. However, this file doesn't give us any information regarding their rank. So in the end, we are left wondering, is the administrator the boss of the O5 Council? And if so, what is their exact role within the Foundation? Well, many people believe that the administrator is the actual founder of the Foundation, and that they appointed the O5 Council but retained their level 6 clearance so that they can always override a decision. Another theory is that the administrator is in fact a part of the O5 Council, and that he or she is the most influential member. And this is supported by some documents, which state that O5-1 could be the most powerful. But in any case, the theory that the administrator is in fact the boss of the O5 Council makes a lot of sense, especially when it comes to the Foundation's origin. This is because it's unlikely that 13 individuals discovered anomalies simultaneously and established the Foundation together, and it's much more likely that one person made the first discovery and later appointed others. Alright, this is very interesting, but what does it tell us about the Foundation's origin? Well, it tells us that the Foundation was likely created by a single individual, and it tells us that this administrator is likely still in charge. But how and when did this person establish the Foundation? Well, one of the most famous theories relates to the Gate Guardian, because according to this proposal, on one occasion, when the Guardian was approached by an individual, this person was ordered to prepare, and as a result, this individual began to contain anomalies and later founded the SCP Foundation. But unfortunately, this proposal doesn't provide us with any information regarding the founder's identity. Moving on, another popular theory is described in the Factory. According to this proposal, the Factory was founded in 1875 by James Henderson, a devil worshipper, and through the use of dark powers, this factory began to create anomalous objects. But fortunately, the US government was alerted. As such, the president sent a team of 150 people, all of which were high-ranking military and Secret Service personnel. These people began to secure the factory, but in doing so, they needed to defeat an army of anomalous creatures called fairies, which were created in the depths of the factory. And unfortunately, the humans were losing the fight, so their only choice was to make a deal with Henderson. He helped them defeat the fairies, but in return, they needed to forever feed the factory with D-class personnel, allowing it to keep producing SCPs. However, once the fairies had been defeated, many of the president's workers had conflicting opinions. Some wanted to use the factory to sell anomalous objects and make profit. Others were appalled by the situation and wanted to burn everything down. And some were most concerned with the security of these objects. As such, many of these workers split up and formed other organizations, such as the Global Occult Coalition, the Church of the Broken God, and the Chaos Insurgency. However, 13 individuals remained, which formed the SCP Foundation and became the O5 Council members. And one of them, the writer of this proposal, seems to be the most influential. But unfortunately, this document doesn't tell us any information about the administrator. Moving on, another famous theory is related to the spiral path. This proposal features an individual by the name of Aaron Siegel, who was a physicist at Cornell University. But one day, he came across a gravel path that when walked one way functioned normally, but when walked the other way went continuously uphill. Siegel realized that this path was non-Euclidean, so he began to study the path. As such, he derived a set of physical equations and performed experiments, the first of which produced a key capable of opening a new lock called SCP-005. Of course, he told all of his friends and colleagues, and together they wanted to use this knowledge to change the world, to feed the hungry, to shelter the homeless, to heal the sick, but they decided to keep their intentions private and reveal them once they're ready. At first, they created small, non-dangerous or even helpful items, the Fountain of Youth, the bouncing ball. Over time, they became more confident and started working on humans. They created the Concrete Man and the Man with the Abdominal Planet, but then things started to go wrong. They created the Zombie Plague, the Pipe Nightmare, the Stairwell. They showed some of their inventions to the military and lied, stating that they had just discovered them. As such, the government gave them funding, personnel, though very few suspected that they were the source of the items they studied. Sometimes they would arrange for an object to be found, and sometimes they would simply write the reports. Siegel and his colleagues kept working, creating anomalies such as the Seven Brides and the Flesh That Hates, and according to Siegel, even if a very dangerous SCP was created, there was always a valid reason. Of course, at some point, they realized what they had begun, but their only hope to survive the events they had set in motion was to understand better, to learn more, and for over 100 years, they've kept the world safe despite their creations. However, they didn't make all of the SCPs in the wiki because at some point, anomalies began to randomly appear all around the world, and Aaron Siegel, the man that founded the Foundation with the intent to help the world, realized that they were no longer in control. Of course, these aren't the only theories, and there are many more. According to the Wanderer's Library, the Foundation was established much earlier, namely in the 14th century, and according to the legacy, the administrator is a mysterious man that has created multiple foundations in alternate realities in an attempt to stop a corruption that will destroy the multiverse. And there's multiple theories which suggest that the Foundation has no single creator, but rather that it was formed when 13 organizations merged. And obviously, each one of these theories could be true, so we can't pinpoint the real one. But still, the most popular ones, namely the Gate Guardian, the Factory, and the story of Aaron Siegel, are definitely very interesting. If you enjoyed this video, then go watch our Who Are the Children of the Scarlet King video, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos.